Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. I'm here today to do another video in my tips series, and this is probably the most important video that I'm going to do that you guys, that's probably going to help you guys the most. And I have to apologize for my voice, I've had a cold lately. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that should be pretty basic, but it's not so much anymore. And it's using common sense when it comes to hunting. A lot of people really just try to overanalyze hunting and try to make it too hard. The biggest thing you can do is just go in there and use some common sense. And you know, I'm a pretty successful deer hunter. The average deer hunter kills one deer every 3 years. I've been hunting for 22 years, and I've killed with the deer I killed this year, I broke number 50. So not all of them have been big bucks. The majority of them have been does. But I fill my tags every year, and I do that by, I fill my tags. I average about 2 deer a year, and some years, of course, I've killed nothing. Some years I've tagged out. So I fill my tags most of the time by using common sense, and it's something as simple as going into an area when you're scouting and asking yourself. The first thing I ask myself when I go into an area is, why would the deer be here? If you can go into an area and think, man, this looks awesome, it's beautiful, it's picturesque, this is a kind of place where I could just see myself spending a Saturday afternoon. But if there's no reason for deer to be there, there's no reason for you to be there either. I've seen some guys hang some tree stands in some spots that belong on a Hallmark card, but the hunter doesn't belong there because there's absolutely no reason why a white-tailed deer will be in there. So you have to go in there and ask yourself, just like I said, use common sense and go, is there a reason why the deer are going to be in here? Is there a food source? Is there a bedding area nearby? Is this a travel corridor? Is it a staging area? Do the deer have to come through here? Deer are not like me and you. They're not just going to go hang out. They're going to be at a place for a reason. Either there's good cover there, there's food there, it's a travel route, something. So you have to sit back and you have to ask yourself, why would the deer be here? Same way with hanging your tree stand in that area. Okay, you go in there and you figure out, okay, the deer are going to come through here because of this reason. When you hang your tree stand, you have to try to think, and it doesn't work out every time. Use some common sense and think, okay, the deer are coming from this direction, and they're going to here. I'm going to hang my tree stand, you know, over here. Well, there's some other factors to take into consideration on there. Like, what's the most common wind that you're going to get during the year? Your standard everyday weather for that type of year, when there's not a front moving through or something like that, just shifting the weather pattern or anything like that. Your everyday average weather for that type of year, what kind of wind are you getting? If it's mostly out of the south, if you set up where you're south of where the deer are going to be, or if you're south of the deer, then the wind's going to blow your scent right past them, or right away from them. So they're going to be downwind of you or upwind of you, and they're not going to smell you. If you put your deer, if the deer come in north of you and you got a south wind, your wind's going to be blowing right to them, and you're going to get busted. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You know, like I said, sit there and think, what's my most prevalent weather pattern around here? When everyday weather is going on, what direction's the wind out of? Okay, it's out of the west most of the time, it's out of the south most of the time. Occasionally it'll be out of the north around here when there's a front moving in. So I set up most of my tree stands for a south wind. So that's a real good thing to be considering. Also consider, here's the trail. My best yardage, the yardage that I'm most comfortable with for me is 20 to 30 yards. So don't set your tree stand 40 to 50 yards away from the trail. You know, you can and don't set your tree stand 10 yards away from the trail. There's times when you just can't get that perfect range, but find that 20 to 30 yard range and set your tree stand up somewhere in that range that gives you good concealment, and it gives you a good opportunity to take a shot on the trail. So set yourself up for the right distance. That's, you know, don't set yourself up, don't be afraid to get too close, but don't get right on top of them. Again, use some common sense when it comes to this. And the next thing that you're going to do is, when you're picking a tree, you know, common sense. Don't get in a tree that's that big around, because one, when the wind blows, you're going to be doing this, you know. Don't get in a tree that's this big around and ain't got a single branch on it. Because when you get up there, you're going to be skylining and you're not going to have any cover at all. So find you the right tree, a tree that's got a good circumference to it. If it's huge and got good cover to it, great, throw your tree stand up there. You know, and occasionally you have to get in those little trees that are that big around. But if you don't have to, if you can find you a good moderate sized tree, maybe something as wide as your shoulders or just a little bit wider with some good cover on it, or either around it or in front of it, then that's the tree stand you want to pick. You got your tree stand set up, you're set up in the spot, you know there are deer coming through here, it's time to start picking your shooting lanes. Don't go out there and just cut every tree branch down. You know, pick some shooting lanes. I want as many shooting lanes as I possibly can. But if you go out there and cut timber for 30 yards and you've got a clear, wide open path in front of you, guess what? You ain't got no cover. So use some common sense when it comes to picking your shooting lanes. And I could go on and on and on about this. But it kind of irritates me because it's the kind of stuff I see guys all the time. You know, like I got a guy who he sent me an email and he said, man, I've got this awesome area and there's deer all over in there, but I can't seem to get on one. And I was like, all right, well, what are you doing? And season opened up on a Sunday. He said, well, I went in there Friday and I walked the whole place out and I scouted. Then I went back in there Saturday, me and my wife, and we hung tree stands. And then I hunted Sunday and I haven't seen anything since. Well, you went in there Friday and tromped the whole place out. You went back in there Saturday and hung tree stands. You're not going to see deer on Sunday. So it's a pretty easy thing if you just sit back and use some common sense and you look at that scenario, you'll realize, hey, I need to give it a little bit of time. You know, I need to hang some tree stands a couple months in advance. I need to do my scouting a few weeks in advance, and then I'll go in there. And I'm not going to be scaring every deer out there off. It's like today. Sometimes that don't work. Today I went out and I seen a bunch of deer yesterday and I wasn't in the right spot. So today I went out and moved a tree stand. But it's not going to affect the deer as much as me going out there and tromping around, or me going out there and hanging a tree stand brand new, you know, that the deer have never seen before. You got to have time for them deer to get adjusted. And it's the same way with everything when it comes to archery. But when it comes to deer hunting, we give deer a lot of credit for being smarter than they are. And a lot of time it's just we didn't use the right common sense. And I'm looking at you guys saying you didn't use the right common sense. How do you think I learned these lessons? I learned them from 22 years of bow hunting and making these mistakes. And that's the most important thing. There's going to be some times when your common sense is just going to plumb abandon you. And you're going to feel like a moron. And a prime example is last year we hunted this spot and there's two clumps of trees. One over here, one down here. And everything up here was oak trees. And beginning of season, we were seeing deer all over up in there. Just everywhere up in there. And we never even looked at this group of trees down here. As far as I knew, at that point, there wasn't even no tree stands in that group of trees. And we would go out there, and me and Lindsay would go out there, and every time we'd leave, we'd see deer on that tree line over there. And stupid me, I was like, well, they're bedding in there. You know, I don't know why we're not seeing deer over here. Why are those? Never even went in there to check it out. And it turns out that area was just loaded with hickory trees. And I went in there this year, it finally hit me. I'm like, God, stupid. Why didn't you go over there and hunt? Why didn't you go over there and hunt, you know? So I went in there this year just to look around, and that area was just loaded with hickories. And hickory trees are a great source of late season food for the deer. They'd wiped that one hillside clean of oaks, and they'd moved to the other area. And we just kept walking by it, and just the connection never got made. You know, that's where the deer are moving into late season. So this year I learned from that, and I'm going to hunt over here when all the oaks are on the ground. As soon as they're gone, I'm hunting down here. So when it comes to deer hunting, the greatest tool you have is your mind. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out how to hunt deer. You just have to use some common sense. When you find a scenario that you get into, just step back and ask yourself the relevant questions at that time and in that scenario of, why are the deer here? What are they doing while they're in here? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? How do I set my tree stand up so I can get my optimal position to kill one of these deer? You know, and I ain't seeing deer anymore. Where did they go? Did the food source disappear? Where's the new food source at? Where can I go late season? Where can I go early season? Ask yourself these questions and you'll realize it's not that difficult. And the question's right there. I mean, the answers are right there if you just step back, use a little bit of common sense, and look at the scenario logically, and you're going to find the answer. Deer are not as smart as we give them credit for. Now, don't take that the wrong way either. I've been outsmarted by deer. Well, I got outsmarted by deer all day yesterday. Just all I seen was white flags and snorting deer. So step back, use a little common sense, and I guarantee the answer will come to you. And you'll find, if you just ask yourself those questions that I talked about, you're going to find the answer and you're going to start killing more deer. So for more product reviews, how-to videos, check out our website, ikesoutdoors.com. Appreciate you guys.